On this day in 1973, Celtic beat Hibernian 3-0 in front of almost 50,000 fans at Easter Road to win an 8th consecutive league championship. Celtic had been cruising towards the title in the first half of season 1972-73, but the wheels threatened to come off over the winter months. Ian Archer wrote in the Glasgow Herald of the 23rd of April 1973, "Few would have believed in December, as Celtic were strolling towards the preordained place in the country's affairs, that almost the entire team would collapse with flu at the vital time, the manager would lie ill in hospital, that Airdrie would beat them, and that all of those unlikely events would coincide with a Rangers revival that has been staggering in its consistency. But all that happened, and so on Saturday we had a compulsive day, and no small incident revealed it more clearly than the sight of Steen himself sitting on the Parkhead bench watching his own team play while listening by transistor to the match at Aberdeen." As the half-time whistles sounded on the 21st of April 1973, Rangers were leading Aberdeen 1-0 at Pittodrie, while Celtic were struggling to break down the Arbroath defence and were being held 0-0. As it stood, Rangers would go into their final match against East Fife at Ibrox 1 point ahead of Celtic, who had to play Hibernian at Easter Road. By 4:40pm, Celtic had gotten their act together and were 4-0 up, while Aberdeen led Rangers 2-1, potentially giving Celtic a 2-point advantage with a vastly superior goal difference, before Alfie Conn scored a last-gasp equaliser, leaving Celtic only 1 point ahead going into the final league fixtures. Celtic faced no easy task at Easter Road on the 28th of April. Hibernian had beaten them 5-3 in the Drybrough Cup final in August and 2-1 in the League Cup final in December. They had then drawn 1-1 at Celtic Park on the 23rd of December. Celtic may have had a slight edge in the title race, but Hibernian were dangerous opponents, and defeat in Edinburgh would almost certainly hand the title to Rangers. The huge travelling Celtic support was greeted by an unseasonal snowstorm as they arrived in Edinburgh, which had abated by kick-off. With Easter Road bursting at the seams as it struggled to contain a 48,000-strong crowd, Celtic lined up Hunter, McGrain, Brogan, Murdoch, McNeil, Connolly, Johnston, Dalglish, Deans, Hay, Callaghan, sub, Hood. As expected, Hibernian made life difficult for Celtic in the first half. Ian Archer reporting in the Glasgow Herald of the 30th of April 1973. "Stanton, until he departed, had inspired Hibs to the same kind of form that had made them contenders for this title earlier in the season. He hit a shot against the post, helped to prompt moves that made Hunter save bravely, and generally conducted himself with awesome power." Fortunately, when Dixie Deans was playing against Hibs, it was virtually a guarantee of at least one goal, and it came on 22 minutes. Shearer Borthwick wrote in the Evening Times of the 27th of April, "It began with a free kick taken by Jimmy Johnston, away out on the right, well outside the 18-yard line. Billy McNeil went for it and failed to connect, but Callaghan turned the ball back into goal. Shadler cleared off the goal line, only to see Dixie Deans dash in to crash the ball over the line." The explosion of joy unleashed by the goal produced one of the great Celtic photos as Deans skipped away pursued by Kenny Dalglish, both their faces beaming with jubilation as Billy McNeil and Davy Hay leap into the air. Pat Stanton hobbled off injured on 59 minutes, and with that, Hibernian's chances of ruining the party were gone. The decisive goal came just over 10 minutes later, goalkeeper Jim MacArthur and Des Bremner colliding as they both went for Jimmy Johnston's cross and leaving Kenny Dalglish with a simple finish. 10 minutes from time, Deans headed his second to seal the win and a then record-breaking 8th title in a row. Ian Archer reported, "This was a joyous day and the match a delight to watch. The league was won in the grand manner, the lap of honour received hysterically, and even Hibernian were applauded for their part in it all." Archer concluded, "So in the end, they ran round Easter Road, applauding their own fans, and eventually they disappeared down the tunnel. Jock Stein was already in the dressing rooms when they arrived. Half an hour later, along the corridor underneath the stand, we could hear them singing the same songs as their supporters. Reluctant as I am to criticise champions, it has to be said, they were equally out of tune.